Hello everybody out there in Flosstube world. This is Vicki, aka the Virginia Stitcher, coming to you with my MAYnia plans for 2023. I was inspired by, well, first of all, today is, what is today? Friday, April 28th. And this is my Flosstube video number 39. So welcome everybody. This is just going to be my MAYnia plans. So stay tuned next week. I plan to film and post a video for my April wrap up and everything that I've been up to in the month of April, stitching wise. So anyways, as I was saying, this is going to be my MAYnia plans. I know this year I'm doing a SWEWE year, but I thought it would be fun to participate in MAYnia this year. And I got inspired by watching Brenda. She's the handwork maniac on Flosstube, and I believe also on Instagram. Anyway, she posted her recent video, and it was of her MAYnia plans. And the way she does her MAYnia is, I'm going to copy her for the most part, for how she does hers. What she does is, I guess she's been doing it, I think she said since 2018. And the way she goes about it is she had, in 2018, 18 projects that were for May 1st through the 18th. And then the following year, the 2019, she revisited her projects that she had started for her MAYnia the previous year. So any that were finished were taken off, and any that she still had, she kept on that date. So say she did, Project A on the 1st of May, and she still had Project A, she kept it there for the 1st of May to work on, and so on and so forth. Project B on day 2 maybe was finished, so she would take it off and put something else in place of Project B on day 2. So since this is 2023, I'm going to be doing my MAYnia from May 1st to May 23rd. Getting a tickle in my throat. So hopefully I don't start coughing. Anyways, the way I'm going to do mine is I looked and I checked on since I've been keeping records of when I've started certain projects, I have started 11 that are not finished projects in the months of May in the last 2 or 3 years. So those 11 projects are going to be put in my MAYnia plans, and then I'm starting 12 more. So the first batch that I'm going to show you are my 11 that I have from previous May starts. And then I'm going to go into what are going to be new starts for May. And then my hope is then next year for 2024, revisit and maybe, do like Brenda does and have my 23 projects, if any of them are finished, put something in their place, and then add one more for the year 2024. So I have 24 projects and so on and so on. And that's my plan, because I thought that would be fun. I just like to kind of mix things up and do things different, some different things, at different times of the year. And I thought this would be fun for this month. I had contemplated doing March Madness, but I didn't. I thought, no, I'm not gonna get into that and try to rank my projects and all that kind of stuff. But I think my MAYnia, that's something that I really want to do. So I will get started here. And like I said, stay tuned next week, because I'm planning on filming a video. That's my plan anyway, to film a video next week and post it of everything the regular stuff, the things I've been stitching on for the past few weeks. So stay tuned for that. I'm not going to show that on this video, but I will show it at my next one on my Flosstube number 40. So the first project that was started in previous May, I think it was last year in May, was a Mirabilia, and this is called Venetian Opulence. So she looks like this. And I'm stitching her on, it looks like a taupe Lugana, probably 32 count. Sorry for the crinkling. She's in a plastic bag. And I don't have a whole lot done on her, so I'm kind of excited to pull her back up. Let me see what direction she goes. This way. and see how much more progress I can get on her. So this is where she is. So where I started was a middle start, and this is the start of her fan that she's holding in her hand. And then this is like a medallion that, you know, kind of holding her sash at her hip, her waist. So that is where I am on that one. And there's a little bit of her skin up here, right in here. So I didn't get very far because there was quite a bit of color changes. I'm in a part of this lady where the color changes quite a bit. So you see her fan here. So I started that, a little bit of her arm, and I'm working down in here. But see how there's all those purples and fuchsia or raspberry colors going on in her dress, plus the blues and whites, lighter colors of the fan and her skin color. So I did quite a bit of color changes. I saw her stitched up at my Tangle retreat that I go to in Ocean City. A lady named Karen had stitched her and framed her and brought her as her ta-da of something that she has finished. And I'm going to tell you, this was a ta-da. And I went and had to get her immediately and start her last year. Because I think it was at the April retreat last year. And I started her in May. So that shows you how much, you know, how beautiful she is in person. And she's not one you see often that people are stitching on. And she is just gorgeous. So my Venetian Opulence is one of my whips, current whips, that's going to get some more love on it next month. The next one that I want to work on, that was a May start last year, I believe, is the Floral Motif Sampler by the Scarlet House. It looks like this. And I started up here, and I did not get a whole lot done on this one. This one, I'm not sure what this one's being stitched on. I'll look up my fabrics and be able to update you when I show at the end of the month all of my product. Oh, here we go. It's by Picture This Plus, and it's color called Wren, W-R-E-N. There's the tag that's on my piece of fabric. And this one, let's see. I don't think I need all of this fabric. I just didn't cut it yet. This is where I am. So I'm hoping to get, you know, hopefully, you know, 2 or 3 more motifs or something in there. Flower motifs. It looks like I was color completing. It looks like I have a leaf here. I probably was finishing some thread on my needle and just got the stem here. And it's hard to see this little guy here. But that is only how far I have on this one. So we'll see how much more progress I can make on this one. And each one of these pieces is going to be one day. The day they're assigned to, from the 1st to the 23rd. And then the last week of the month will be Sweewee. And it may be I pick up some more of these, 1, 2, 3, 5 more of these, and work on them some more, or pick up something different. So we'll see. We'll see what I do the last week of the month, next month. This next one I have not worked on in a good while. I think I started this 2 years ago in May. And this is an Ink Circles, and I always am not sure how to pronounce it, but it's Cirque de Cerveau, and it's this. And I am stitching this with an overdyed silk from Silks for You. And this color number is PR094. I'll show you the color real quick. I'll keep it in the little pouch that came with my bag. So this is PR094. So it's a bunch of like blues to purples. Really pretty cool colors. So I am stitching this one with this one. I think this was the first time I used one of these variegated silks from Silks for You. And I had a page finish, and then I kind of just set it aside, and I haven't done any more on this one. So this one is, yeah, I started on May 22nd of 2021, and it is being stitched on a piece of 16 count Aida in the color Tycho. And this is how far I am. So Tycho is a very, very softly colored piece of fabric. There's not a whole lot of color to the fabric. So on the camera, it's not really showing up, but there's very, very, very slight colors of some pastel colors in there. So that's where I am, and we'll see how much farther I get. So basically a page finish on this one. I think I was pushing for a page finish the last time I was working on this. I got the page finish, and then I kind of set it aside, and I haven't touched it since. So that is a crime. The next one is, oh, this is one that may be a restart. I'm not liking the fabric I started her on. This one is Isabella Jackson by the Scarlet House. So she is a reproduction sampler. Get her out of her bag. And she looks like this. So Isabella Jackson, 1829 by the Scarlet House. And I think what I was trying to do was kind of match the really dark fabric on the sample here, the model on the front of here. But I'm not liking what I had started on this one. It's on Ale by Picture This Plus in a Lugana, it looks like. Let me show you what I've done. So I got this far. And actually on the camera, it looks better than in person. It's kind of a very rusty looking piece of fabric. It's kind of greenish, grayish, like a grayish with rust colors running through it. Okay, and so what I did, and I'm using all the called for Belsoise. This is the only project that I'm using the Classic Colorworks silks, the Belsoise. Look at my pretty, I just make floss drops by, I'll go to like Hobby Lobby or Michael's or Joann's, and if they have things on sale, little trinkety things, I make floss drop bling. So that's what that is. But these are the Belsoise, and they're beautiful to work with. But what I might do, and I'll visit that whenever this one is scheduled for during the month, I might instead, I looked in my fabric stash, and I might put it on this 28 count Lugana in the color Wheat. So I might use this one instead. See the difference? See how this one's kind of rusty, grayish, very grungy. This one's very, very grungy. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'm going to restart this or not. Because the silks are so pretty that I don't know if they're being showcased well enough on this piece of fabric. And there's, it's a very colorful piece. It has a lot of like the kind of like reds and blues and oranges and greens. And so I might check into restarting this. So I'll be thinking about that when I get to this one next month. So this is this one. And I love the Belsoise. I haven't worked with them a lot, only this far on this piece. This is the only one that's being stitched with Belsoise so far in my repertoire of whips that I have in my collection. Let's set that one there. Oh, and this next one was a May 1st start last year. This was for, and I was just watching her Flosstube video this week also, and it's Pam. Her Flosstube channel is Stitching in the Land of Good Enough. She started a stitch along with this piece last year that was released in at market last year, and it's by Rosewood Manor, and it's called a Tisket a Tasket, and I believe she was calling it a Tisket a Tasket Basket Sal stitch along. And even she admitted that she goes, I'm the leader of this stitch along, and I'm failing at this because several people have finished it, and I'm not even near done. But Pam, if you're watching this, you are way farther along than I am. I'm like up here in the corner, and at least I think she started down over in here, and she's got a lot of the basket done, and 3/4 of the border, and you know, some of the flowers and stuff in the basket. I think she's gotten maybe about this much done right here. Well, mine's pitiful, so I definitely need to work on this some. And it's just all of the color changes make it really hard. And this is all I have on mine. But when I showed this last year, I was saying how this is probably 5 different colors going on in just this little thing right here. So I started a little bit of the border, the sawtooth looking border, a little bit of the corner filigree. But when you're looking at this, that's this little filigree and a little bit of this border right here. So I still have a whole lot to do on this one. So I do need to get this one out. And this one is being stitched on a 16 count piece of Aida. I'm not sure what the color is. In fact, I was keeping my needles threaded on this one because the colors do change so much that I was using this card. I drew symbols in here and it's got a magnet to hold my needles. And I was using this card to keep my needles because I might only had 3 stitches with a color in an area and then had to switch. So I thought, I'm not going to keep rethreading my needle. I'm just going to thread, you know, 6 or 7 needles and just switch back and forth if I have to. See if that'll help it go faster. But this is 16 count Aida in the color Legacy by Fiber on a Whim. So, because I was trying to kind of as close match the fabric for the sample, because this is so pretty. But Pam, when she started this stitch along, she was offering to kit them up for people, and I already had the chart, so I just needed the threads, and I used a piece of fabric from my stash. So she supplied me with the weeks dye works that I needed for the piece. I just told her, I think, what size fabric I was using and that I used 2 threads, so she would get me enough. This next one is one that I started, I believe, last year. And this one is by Heartstring Samplery, and it's called Coffee Quaker. And I just love what it says. First, I drink the coffee, then I do the things. So I need this because, yes. This one I am stitching on a piece of fabric I picked up at the Steel City Stitchers Retreat last year. Not this year, but last year. And it's kind of a scratchy, almost burlappy type of fabric. And this is called a Flax Linen Aida. So it is a 20 count Aida. And I don't know, flax, linen, I thought, oh, interesting. So I'm going to work on, I'm going to put this piece on this one. And that's only how far I am on this piece. I have not picked this one up all year either. So I'm going to be happy to see more progress on this one. And because it is a stiffer Aida, it's holding the creases more. Let me fold it a little different. So a 20 count Flax Linen Aida. Not saying I love this fabric, it's okay. But because it is kind of a scratchy, stiffer, I don't know if you hear that. It's not my favorite, but it works. But I don't think I'd go buy a whole pile of this. It's not one of my favorites. So that is that whip. The next one is by Long Dog Samplers, and it's called Hoity Toity. This is another one. I thought that was interesting that actually Brenda the Handwork Maniac has it on her in her MAYnia also. Something that she started in May for MAYnia. This one is, she's way farther along than I am. She's like 3/4 of the way done on hers. Mine is not near that far. And it looks like I'm stitching this one on a 16 count white chocolate Aida. And it is, I think I'm using all the, no, I did convert a couple of the colors. Let me try to, this is a little bit of one of those stiff Aidas too. But this is how far I am on mine. So that's where I am. I had stitched this one on a different piece of fabric when I started. And I think I only got, a little bit of this corner done, and I didn't like the fabric I was stitching it on, so I switched it to this. So this was a restart a while back. But I started this one a couple of years ago, and that's only how far I am on this one. There's a lot of stitching in this because, of course, it's a long dog. but it is pretty. My inspiration came from Lisa, Kindred Stitcher. She finished this one, I don't know, late last year, I think, a few months back. Beautiful. This next one is by Reflet de Soie, and it is these vinyl fronted bags. My projects always get stuck in here. They like to stick to the plastic. I used to think, oh, I love, because you can see your project through the front, but I don't like how you put your project on the front so you can see what you're stitching on, but then it sticks to the vinyl. Not my favorite. Gilet by Reflet de Soie. And this was inspired, I was inspired to stitch this one by Deb from the Country Stitchers. Is that what they're called? The Country Stitchers. So I love this piece. I love this fabric. This is a soft Lugana. Not sure. I don't think I know what color this one is though. It was in my stash. It looks like it's a fiber on a whim though, by the dyeing on it. But this is how far I am. So this one's a very colorful one. It switches back and forth in the colors. Now I think Deb, when she stitched hers, she did a little bit of a color conversion. Mine's all the called for colors, the called for DMCs. And what I love this house here. I love the pear. I love the, whoops, sorry. The beautiful fancy swirly alphabet in there. They're so pretty. Looks like I just copied the key, the color key. So this is my starting point for May. Let's see how far I get on this in a day. And I'm just trying to stick everything really quick in their bags. I'm going to pile over here and I'll straighten that up later. The next one is another reproduction sampler. That Gilet is a reproduction sampler from 1898. And then this one is in a vinyl bag where it's sticking again. Die Frotag 1849 by From the Heart Needle Art. Die Frotag. And whatever. I love this. The flowers. It's very feminine, romantic kind of look to it. And this Saroon, I did pick a darker piece of fabric for this one. This one's being stitched with all the called for overdyes. The classic Colorworks colors. And there again, just a little bling. Something I picked up on sale, made into a bling. This one is by Be Stitch Me, this fabric. And this one is a 32 count Lugana in the color Coconut Shell. And that's how far I am. Let me get closer so you can see. That is it, people. That is it. I started this one last May, but this I did do a mini MAYnia last year. I was on vacation, but I came back and for, I think 8 days in a row, I did 8 new starts. So this was one of them. So this was probably just a day's worth of stitching, and then I just didn't pick it back up. Didn't get back around to this one. So she's going to get some love next month. Coming up soon. The other May whip I have is by Teresa Kogut. And this is Land That I Love. Looks like this. I love this style of book that she did here. She doesn't do it like that anymore. I think it was just too much. I love it. Because the pages lay flat, you can flip them totally backwards. You're not bending your book all up. But anyway, Land That I Love. I'm stitching this on an Aida. This one I started 2 years ago. So I have a little more progress on this one than like Die Frotag. I am using the called for overdyes here. Aren't they naughty looking right there? Naughty threads. This one looks like it's on color am I stitching this one on? Did I put a note anywhere in my stuff? Yes. 16 count lamb's wool Aida. So it's Aida in the color lamb's wool. And I have, so it is one of those stiffer Aidas, but that's where I am on this one. So hopefully I get some more progress on this one. Last time I pulled this up, I brought the border over a little farther, and my goal was to finish this eagle, which I did. So this is where I am on this one. I love this piece. I just, sometimes the stiffer Aidas kind of hold me back a little bit, even though that's all I pretty much stitched on before in the past. But now with all of the newer kinds of lovely, softer fabrics, I get pulled away from stitching on these. But I still love it. I still want to finish it. So we're going to get some work on that one. And then the last one that is a previous, this one was from I started last year in May. Another one of my MAYnia ones that I worked on the one day in May, but then I did pick it up and work on it a little bit more. And this is My Home in the Garden by Hello from Liz Matthews. And this one is a beautiful, beautiful spring looking piece to me. This one is being stitched on a piece of, I don't know if it's 32 or 28 count, Lugana. And it looks like it's just in like antique white or white Lugana. It's just a plain Lugana. It's not got colors. Let me double it up here. This is where I am. So I think when I had the one day of stitching, I had some of this border here and this flower, and I think I started this flower, and I think I had A and B in. So I came in another day and I worked on it and put a little bit more on it, just not too long ago. Just like last month, back in March, yeah, I think it was in March I picked this up and was working on it. Because I was feeling some spring stitching, and this one is really pretty. And I almost brought this to my retreat a couple weeks ago, and then she didn't make the cut to go, but almost. I was contemplating it. Okay, so now, what are going to be my 12 new starts for this month? So let me grab my pile of new starts and show you what I got here. Now this one was inspired. I was just watching Dina. She's the Nightly Stitcher on Flosstube and I believe on Instagram. She just put up a video this past week and she was showing this one again. And when you look at the chart, it doesn't look like anything. But I tell you what, her stitching, I like it. It's cute. It's like, it's a piece that's like comfort stitching to me because it's a Carriage House samplings and it's called Alphabet Blocks. It looks like this. But the way she's doing it is the way I want to do it because it makes it so much prettier, much more colorful. The backgrounds for each of these words, for each of the alphabets, she's not just doing the one color all the way through. This model was stitched with Whiskey by Weeks Dye Works for the background color down here. But Dina is picking just randomly a color that she likes. Like the blue, a green, a red, a yellow, and stitching those blocks, that background around the word in each block with a different color. And it's just making it so colorful and cute. So I have picked a piece of, it's like 32 count ivory Lugana to stitch this one on. So I'm going to stitch that on that. Start that next month. And then this next one, and the pieces that I picked are pieces that are kind of on my radar that I wanted to start and that I had in my stash. And I had the fabric and I have the threads. So I thought, why not? Why not start them? This one is by Shannon Christine, and this is Cup of Cheer. I had finished her pumpkin latte. That's a kind of it's a coffee mug with a pumpkin latte written on it and pumpkins on it and stuff. It's like fall looking. Well, this one's a winter looking one, and this one is so cute. And I love how they've done it on the blue here. So I picked this piece of Cornflower by Fiber on a Whim. It's a 28 count Lugana. So I picked this to do this piece on. Because I want to make sure the whites pop and things like that. So I'm going to stitch that on that. That's the plan. And then another winter one that I picked out is by Cherry Hill Stitchery. I picked this up off the freebie table at my Tangle retreat in Ocean City last year, maybe last September or December when I went. And this Cherry Hill Stitchery, I don't have any Cherry Hill Stitchery, so this will be the first time stitching one of these. Oh, and I can't really show it to you. Real quick. It's called Hot Cocoa is Calling. And it's the chart. It's just a chart. It doesn't have, so I don't know if it was a freebie or what, but I don't know if you're going to be able to see that. But that's what it looks like. And they've stitched it on a tan color, but I'm going to stitch mine on this blue. And this is Ariel by Picture This Plus, 16 count Ada. This blue color. And this piece of fabric is one that I've tried 2 different things on and then decided it didn't work for that piece. So I'm hoping, because I have plenty to stitch, this will only measure about 6 by 6.5 inches. So it should fit on this fabric fine. But I started a By the Bay Needle Arts piece here. I started my Snow Village here on this corner. And both of those, it was like, nope, it's not working for me. So Snow Village there, By the Bay here. So on the rest of this fabric, maybe down over, you know, in one of the corners, you know, I will put this piece. And I think this will work perfect for that one. So I'm hoping 3rd time's a charm on this piece of fabric. It's a beautiful piece of fabric. It's just those other 2 pieces, I was like, nah, it's not really working. So I'm going to stitch that on that. Then, I've never stitched a Tiny Modernist either. And I have this one. It's called Jolly Christmas Bell Pull by Tiny Modernist. And I am going to stitch this one on a piece of 28 count Lugana in the color Mushroom. So, you know, I told you how I store my fabric. If you haven't seen it, it's in a past video. But this piece is a really skinny piece. It's only 13 inches wide. So it'll be perfect. It'll be plenty wide enough for this piece, because I think this only measures about 5 inches or something like that. Yeah, on 28 count, it'll be about 4.5 inches wide. But then I'll have plenty of margin, and it's plenty long enough. So I'm going to stitch that on that. And then my other Tiny Modernist bell pull that I want to start is Spooky Halloween bell pull. Like I said, again, by Tiny Modernist. Thought this was so cute. And I've had this in my stash for quite a while, and it's a big piece, so I'm going to have to cut this. But it is 16 count Ada in the color Murky by Picture This Plus. So I'm going to stitch, that's my plan anyway. I'm going to try it on Murky. This looks like their model is on like a grayish color, a pretty gray. But I'm going to try Murky, and we'll see how that one works for that one. And then this next Halloween piece is by Primrose Cottage Stitches. This is another new designer to me. And this one is called Halloween Letters. So I'm going to start this one on 28 count Lugana in the color Brown Sugar by Fiber on a Whim. So I'm going to do it on this one. That's that plan. And then this one is by Barbara Anna Designs. And it is one that I have been wanting to do for quite a while. I've seen some people finish it. I've seen people working on it. I just seen some recent finishes not too long ago on Instagram. But this one is All Creatures Great and Small by Barbara Anna. Hopefully you can see it good enough in the plastic. It's a big piece. So I had a piece of Platinum Lugana. This is 32 count Platinum Lugana This one measures 23 by 31. So this was a piece I cut off of when I UFO'd Sarah Brazier from Hands Across the Sea, when I decided I did not want to stitch on that one, finish that one. So I have this piece of fabric. So it's a nice good size, because this baby measures 317 stitches by 248. So she's a good size. So I have a nice size piece of fabric, perfect size for it, out of my stash. So that's one way I'm going to be able to get a lot of use out of my fabric stash. This next one is called Ghoul Tide Welcome by Plum Street Samplers. This one I saw just recently, well, probably a few months back. Christy from Crosshatch Quilts had this one finished. And it's so pretty. And it was up on her fall wall. And I'm going to stitch this one on a piece of 16 count. Am I stitching this on 16 count Aida? I guess I am. 16 count Aida in the color Ale by Picture This Plus. So I picked this one up at In Stitches in Alexandria, so a while back. So that was in my stash. So really trying to do stitch from stash. So I'm working on my stash. This next one is a Mirabilia, and this one I wanted to start last year, didn't start her. So I really want to get her started this year. And this one is Raven Queen. Isn't she gorgeous? Now this one, at my Tangle retreat in Ocean City, probably about a year ago. Might have been, yeah, last spring or something like that. One of the ladies there had this one finished, and she had it framed, and it was absolutely gorgeous. Of course, she had it framed to the hilt. I mean, she had it matted and filigree, and she had an inset in it with the description on the back of this piece and everything. And it was just beautiful. But one of the other things that struck me about her piece that I thought, well, I could do that. You know, I could kind of copy her in that regard. Well, she stitched it on kind of a peachy pinky piece of fabric. So I picked this up last year at Still City Stitchers retreat, and this one is by Under the Sea Fabrics, and this one is called Tulip Sunrise, and it is a 32 count Lugana. My only thing that I'm thinking on this one is that I'm hoping that the weave isn't too tight for this one, because there is beading in Mirabilia, so I don't like to have too tight of a, but look at this piece of fabric. Oh, it's gorgeous. It's got a little bit splashes of like orangey, like dreamsicle in with the pinks. Tulip Sunrise by Under the Sea. So, kind of want to stitch her on this. I've been waiting to stitch her. So, I thought, what better time than now? I have her. I have all her lovely beads and threads that she needs. So, why not? She uses some Black Whisper and some, I've got the Black Whisper and I've got the Water Lilies. And then, of course, beads, Krynic, and DMCs. So all her stuff. This next start will be Autumn Blessings by Shannon Christine Designs. Looks like this. It's just a cute one, and I love the colors. Teals are kind of my color, and I love the yellows. They're so sunny. What's funny is I think of this as kind of a summer piece, but it's actually a fall piece. If it didn't have the pumpkins in it, I wouldn't consider it a fall piece at all, because it almost looks, you know, like sunflowers and sunny. And I am going to stitch this on this piece of fabric that I picked out of my stash. Looks like maybe a wheat or a taupe Lugana. I don't think I have what this is. Nope. But it's a nice, perfect size piece for this. And I think, and I wanted it to have enough color, you know, enough, not just a light beige, you know, really light color, so that the whites in this would pop off, you know, because there's all that white stitching. Well, so got that one. Another one, and I really have wanted to start this one. This one is so pretty. And I had somebody just recently, oh my gosh, I can't remember your name. She messaged me on Instant Messenger and said that there is a, well, let me show you the piece. It's Welcome to the North Pole by Primrose Cottage Stitches. Oh, it looks like this. Isn't it cute? Love it. And I'm going to use the DMCs, but for the reds, like where the train is and the sleigh and all of that, where all the reds are, because there's decent size areas of that red. I wanted to use an overdyed with some variegation in it, so I picked up Buckeye Scarlet. So I had a few Buckeye Scarlets. I just threw them in there, and I have a piece of 32 count Lugana in the color Vintage Country Mocha that I'm going to stitch it on. Okay. But anyways, I was contacted on Instagram, and I'm sorry I can't remember your name if you're watching this, but she said that there is a, there was a mistake for at the top of the train, and it's been posted on Primrose Cottage site, the correction, but she sent me a copy of that correction. And so I might try to remember to put that on my Instagram or something like that so that people will have that correction. If I'm allowed to do that, though. That's part of the chart. That's my problem. But anyways, if you are stitching this, keep in mind that there is a correction to the top of the train. So if you want that, I can send that to you, or you can look it up on the Primrose Cottage Stitches site. So thank you for the heads up. And then the last one that I've had this one kitted, and I was going to start it last year and I didn't get around to it. So I want to start it this year. And I picked this up at Keepsakes last year at StitchCon. It was my purchase at Keepsakes. I went to the actual Keepsakes store in Sharonville, Ohio. And this was a piece I picked up and I kitted with the threads last year. So Olga Stocking. I want to start this one because I've been wanting to start this one. Looks like I have a 32 count piece of Lugana. Just looks like a taupe. Let me see if I wrote it down. Yep, light taupe Lugana, 32 count. So I'm going to stitch it on that because it's a perfect piece for this. Perfect size. And that is it. Those are going to be my 23 MAYnia pieces that I'm going to work on next month. So from May 1st to the 23rd, and then that last week of May, I'll stitch on what I want. So whether it's picking up these pieces again, some of these pieces, stitching on something completely different, I don't know. But for those 23 days, that's going to be my plan. I'm going to be stitching on those. And then I'll come back and show you guys like around the beginning of June what I did the month of May. So stay tuned for that. So I'm excited. If any of you are doing MAYnia, let me know what you're doing, what your plans are. I had thought about doing MAYnia Mirabilia month and picking up my different Mirabilias that I have and stitching on those. I thought about maybe a Monogamania and stitching on a monogamous piece for the week. And then, you know, picking 4 projects and working on each of those for the whole week. But instead I settled on this. Because evidently I'm the start queen. I have start-itis. And I love it. It doesn't bother me. Although there are times that I think I have so many whips that I won't get anything finished. And it doesn't bother me greatly, but sometimes it's like, I would like to finish some of these things. I love my projects. I love them. And I want to see them finished. But I also love and enjoy stitching on them. And there are projects that have been sitting kitted, or I have. And I'm thinking, why not go ahead and start those, you know, because I have them. I talked to you about my Tangle retreat and that I go to in Ocean City 3 times a year with a group of ladies. They're the Tangle Retreat ladies, the Tangle group. And there was one of our members that passed away suddenly a few months back before Christmas, right before Christmas, when we went in December. And she had quite a stash. And so the group has been lucky enough, been very fortunate that we were given her stuff. But then it makes you think, you feel so bad that she had all of this stuff that she had collected through the years and, didn't get a chance to stitch on a lot of the things. And so enjoy your stuff, ladies. Enjoy it. If you have it, stitch it, stitch, like I say, stitch on what you want. If you're a monogamous stitcher and too many whips gives you anxiety, don't stitch on a million things, then don't. If you want to start new things though, and you keep holding yourself back because you're saying, no, I really shouldn't. I don't know why, it's all personal preference. I have some people say, why do you have so many whips? Well, that's my personal preference. I have the stuff. I have such an eclectic taste for cross stitching. I love reproduction samplers. I love current samplers. I love all of the holiday stitching. I love bright and colorful pieces. I like more muted pieces. There are so many different things to stitch, and I can't just pigeonhole myself to just this little bit. I love Mirabilias. I love Lavender and Lace. I love Plum Street and Carriage House and, all the Hawk Run Hollows. And if while I'm stitching on them, they're bringing me joy, then at least, I got the joy of stitching on them while I stitched on them. So, I don't know. It just kind of brings home, when you see a stitcher pass away and all of the things that she loved and she collected and she enjoyed. I'm sure she enjoyed purchasing them, looking at them, stitching on some. She finished a lot. But, do what you love. Just do what you love. So I'm going to start 12 new things this month because they're sitting in my stash and I love them. I love them. And so I'm sitting there thinking, if I love them and I can't wait to stitch on them, then I might as well just go ahead and start them and start stitching on them. Now, some of them I start stitching on, and this is the thing too. If I start stitching on them, sometimes starting a project takes a minute. It takes, half an hour or whatever of your day. It depends. If you have it already kitted, then it still takes, I always, even if it's kitted, I double check the piece of my piece of fabric. I want to double check, make sure it is the right size, that I wasn't off my meds or something, thinking tired thoughts or something, doing this late at night or whatever when I was kitting something, or thinking, oh, this fabric will work great for this piece, and throw it in there, but have forgot to measure and double check. So I always double check my fabric. So I get it out, I lay it out, I measure it, I recalculate again how big my piece is on that piece of fabric according to the count. And then I figure out, okay, is this enough margin? Is it leaving me enough margin? I usually stitch on a Q-snap. So I want at least a 3-inch margin usually, because the Q-snap, because it's kind of a rounder piece, it sucks up a little bit of your fabric around the edges. So if I do a 2-inch or smaller, I'm right up to the edge of my Q-snap, and it's kind of hard to get your needle in and out when you're right up against the edge of your Q-snap. So I usually like to leave at least a 3-inch margin, if not 4 inches. That to me is better. I know that it costs more to do that, but a lot of times if my piece is going to fit comfortably on a quarter, like a fat quarter, that's generally maybe 18 inches by 27 inches, and maybe my piece is only like 13 inches by, like 10 inches or something by, I don't know, 20 inches. Then I know I have a 3.5-inch border one way and a 4-inch border going the other direction. And then I know I have plenty of border space. Have I stitched on pieces that only have about a 2.5-inch border because I really like the piece of fabric? Yes. But I struggle sometimes with the edges, but once I get into the middle, then I can stitch on it, no problem. It's just when I get to the edges. So that takes a minute to get it out, measure it, double check my measurements, making sure that my piece will fit comfortably on that piece of fabric and that I'm not going to start stitching on it. Plus, I need to know how much margin I did allow myself. How much do I have? So I know how far in to measure for my starting point. So you got to do that. You got to make sure you have all your threads. Then you got to get it started and then put on a Q-snap. By the time I do that, even if I have all of my, say my flosses floss dropped or put on a floss ring or whatever, you know, it is kitted that way, that still takes a few minutes to get a start going. And then you kind of got to get your jumping off point and then get started from there. So it takes a few minutes. If I don't have the threads already pulled, like a lot of these that I'm going to start are using DMC. Well, I'm working from a master set. So I'm going to need to pull the first few pieces. Like if I want to start up here, I'm going to look at my chart and I'm going to say, oh, I need to pull that red color and that green color, those couple of blues, whatever. And then I can start, you know, once I've measured my fabric. And so it takes a minute to get started on something. So once you get them started, just like these that I have here that maybe don't have a lot, like Gilet or whatever, or De Frotag, at least it already has a start on it. So now at any time that I want to stitch on it, if I'm like looking at it and I go, oh yeah, I think I'm just going to stitch on that today. Because like I said, Sweewee, stitch what I want when I want. If I'm looking and I'm like, man, I really feel like I want to stitch on this one today. Well, and get, you know, show her some love. Well, I don't have much on here, but I have a start. So all I have to do is pop this baby on to my Q-snap and get going. Because I've already got my start, you know, I've already got, and then I just decide, okay, what do I want to do? Do I want to extend the border a little bit more, this border? Do I want to start working on these alphabets? Do I want to drop the border down the side? But I've got to start. I've already got my starting point. And see here, this looks like this is about 3 inches and this might be about 4 or 5 inches. Because this was already a serged piece of fabric. And the other thing is, why only allow myself a 3-inch margin on each side and cut my piece of fabric? Because if I cut my piece of fabric, it's just going to be a 2-inch strip. And what am I going to do with a 2-inch strip? Not a whole lot. So I just keep it and then I have a larger margin. But not large. I mean, if my margin was going to be way over halfway into the thing, then yes, I'm going to cut my piece of fabric in half and save that piece for a small. But, so, I'm rambling enough. So I'm going to let you ladies and gentlemen go, you stitchers go. And let me know what your MAYnia plans, if you have any. Or if you're just continuing stitching the way you want to stitch for the month and you don't do MAYnia. So I wish you guys a happy month, but I will be back. I mean, that's my plan. I always say, hell don't freeze over, the creek don't rise, you know, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. I will be back next week with a video with my update for what I stitched on this week. Until then, you guys, happy stitching, much health, happiness, and love sent to you guys. Bye-bye, guys.